I gave him an ultimatum in front of our friends: either do what I said or pack his bags. The look on his face told me everything. I don't think people really grasp how brutal life can be until they're abandoned by the one person they love more than anything. That's exactly what happened to me. The person who was my entire world walked away, and I had to face the harsh truth. It was my fault. They say you never realize what you have until it's gone. I didn't just realize it, I lived it. This story is about Larry and me. He was my boyfriend, and we had been together for a year. In the beginning, things were amazing. We clicked instantly, especially with our shared sense of humor. We'd roast each other playfully, speak bluntly, and laugh until it hurt. But over time, something in me changed. I wish I could pretend I didn't know where that change came from, but I do. Everything began to shift when my sister came to stay with us. She had just gone through a bad breakup, and I didn't want her to be alone. She wasn't exactly the easiest guest. Our house, usually spotless, turned into a chaotic mess. Dishes piled up, laundry sat untouched, and it felt like we were living in a daycare. Still, I told myself to be patient. Larry, though, had a much harder time handling it. He and I had always shared a love for cleanliness, which was one of the things that made us such a good match. But now he was the one doing most of the cleaning because he got home first, and the mess drove him crazy. He brought it up to me one evening, expressing how overwhelmed he felt. He even joked that it looked like we were competing in some filth Olympics with how bad the kitchen looked. I laughed at the time. His humor always got me, but deep down I knew he was struggling. I asked him to give her some grace, to be patient, but the truth was his patience was wearing thin. The breaking point came when I came home one night to hear shouting from inside. My heart jumped. I thought something awful had happened. I rushed in and found Larry furious, yelling at my sister while she lay on the couch, totally unbothered. She'd clogged the sink and left the faucet running, flooding the kitchen. Larry was livid, shouting about the damage, the repairs, the downstairs neighbors. But I didn't care about any of that. I just wanted the shouting to stop. I snapped. I screamed at him to shut up, told him he was acting like a spoiled brat, and defended my sister. I even said, "Get off her case." Larry looked at me like I'd hit him. His eyes said everything. He asked if I was serious, and I said I was. He raised his hands in surrender and walked away to deal with the mess himself. That moment changed something between us. I saw the shift. He became distant, quieter. I thought at the time that he had given in to me, like I had won some kind of argument. But now I know I completely misread him. He wasn't defeated. He was trying not to explode. I took his restraint for weakness, and that mistake marked the start of my downward spiral. The sarcasm I used to admire in our conversations turned into criticism. My tone changed, and I didn't even notice it happening. A week later, my sister left, but the damage was done. Larry had withdrawn. The fun banter was gone. Conversations were shorter. Smiles were rarer. I ignored the signs. The final straw came during a friend's birthday party. I had gone ahead, and Larry was supposed to bring the cake. I was chatting with someone when I saw him arrive empty-handed. Something in me snapped. I didn't even excuse myself. I stormed over, voice sharp, dragging him aside and demanding to know where the cake was. My tone wasn't just annoyed. It was cruel. I laid into him in front of everyone. I didn't notice the silence that fell around us or how harsh my voice sounded. I just kept going, driven by something bitter inside me I hadn't dealt with. Larry didn't respond right away. His face was stunned, like he'd genuinely forgotten. I didn't care. I kept pushing, yelling, cursing. I called him names. I said he was unreliable, stupid even. His jaw tightened, his expression darkened, but he said nothing. Just stared at me like we were locked in some silent battle of wills. Then, out of nowhere, his friends walked in with the cake, laughing, shouting, "Surprise!" The room gasped. My heart dropped. I looked at Larry, and his face hadn't changed. His eyes were fixed on me, angry, cold, humiliated. I wanted to disappear. Instead, I made a joke, tried to play it off. I can't even remember what I said. I just remember how ashamed I felt. I asked the DJ to turn the music up and disappeared into another room, trying to escape him. But Larry didn't let me off that easy. I could feel his eyes on me the entire night, like spotlights in the dark, tracking me wherever I went. I tried to avoid him. But the truth was, I couldn't avoid what was coming. I didn't feel guilty. Not then. I was terrified. Terrified of the conversation we'd have once the party was over. Because no matter how much I ran from it, I couldn't change the fact that we were going home together. And when I walked out to the car, he was waiting, silent still, and I knew nothing between us would ever be the same again. It was one of the most terrifying moments of my life. He stood there like a hitman, silent, focused, and still, as if he had a mission to complete. The darkness hit his eyes, but I could feel them locked onto me. I approached carefully, every step echoing with anxiety, half expecting he'd vanish or turn away, but he didn't. He silently climbed into the car without so much as a glance, not caring if I had something to say. Too afraid to sit beside him, I slid into the back seat. The ride home was suffocating in its silence, and we never spoke about what had happened. I wanted to believe he had let it go. But deep inside, I knew he hadn't. Instead of facing it, I buried the incident like a child, hoping a mess would disappear if ignored. But it didn't. I only spiraled further, and the next time things boiled over, it was at a family event. We had fought earlier that day. Larry didn't want to go. I tried every tactic to persuade him, even accusing him of not loving me or putting me first. The truth was, he wasn't fond of my family, especially my mother, who made a habit of mentioning my exes in front of him, as if to remind him that he wasn't enough. A few months earlier, he had finally snapped and confronted her. And since then, they hadn't spoken. I knew this, yet I pushed him to come with me anyway. Eventually, he gave in. The moment we walked into my parents' house, it felt like the room shifted. All eyes followed him as if a lion had wandered into a hyena's den. Larry kept to himself, sitting quietly off to the side while I floated around, laughing and chatting as though everything was normal. But when we sat for dinner, the tension was impossible to ignore. He was seated between me and my sister, directly across from my mother. The glares exchanged across the table were sharp enough to draw blood. It was obvious no one had moved on. Then my mother, while serving everyone else, deliberately skipped Larry. He had to serve himself. Instead of calling her out, I leaned in and told him to stop glaring at her. His face contorted in disbelief. And yet that wasn't the worst part of the day. That came when my sister stood up and somehow lost her balance, crashing to the floor. Larry instinctively reached to catch her, but he was too late. She landed hard and burst into tears. Everyone rushed over, including Larry, who knelt beside her, checking her condition. Thankfully, she wasn't bleeding or seriously injured. He gently tested her awareness, asking if she could see him, holding up 2 fingers. Before she could answer, I yanked him away, my hand gripping his shirt, fury boiling over. I accused him of letting her fall on purpose. His eyes widened in shock and hurt, and he asked what I was talking about. I spat back that he had always held a grudge against my sister, ever since she damaged something in our house, and this was his sick way of getting revenge. Larry stood up trying to stay calm and pointed out that my uncle had also been nearby and didn't catch her. So why was I blaming only him? He sighed, eyes heavy with sadness, and said it was now clear to him that I was no different from my mother, always trying to tear him down. Instead of stepping in to calm things, my mother sided with me, saying he could have caught my sister if he wanted to. Larry shook his head, heart clearly broken, and walked out. I should have left it at that. Let it cool down until we were home. But I didn't. When we got back, he was waiting for me like a predator ready to pounce. His first words, "What do you think you were doing back there?" I waved him off, too exhausted for what I called another unreasonable fight. His eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" he snapped. I called him manipulative, a coward who pretended to be innocent while plotting revenge. The argument exploded. We yelled, neither of us willing to back down. Finally, he just walked out. For 2 days, we didn't speak, a first for us. The silence was unfamiliar and unbearable. Then, our friend Brittany stopped by. She felt the tension instantly and tried to lighten the mood by suggesting we all go to a friend's party. Neither Larry nor I was interested, but Brittany wouldn't give up. I had already made up my mind. I wasn't going. I didn't have the energy to fake happiness, but then I heard Larry ask, "Who's going to be there?" I froze. He was actually considering it. Brittany listed some of his closest friends, and I saw something shift in him. He nodded. "All right." Brittany turned to me, but I stayed firm. I wasn't going. As Larry got ready, Brittany kept nudging me, but I didn't budge. Then, without much warning, the two of them left together. I stayed behind, but my mind went into overdrive. I kept picturing them laughing, drinking, getting closer, and then my thoughts took a dark turn. I remembered how Brittany used to have a massive crush on him. She'd said she was over it, but what if she wasn't? The idea of them alone having fun drove me mad. I threw on an outfit and rushed out. When I got outside, I realized Larry had left his car behind. He had gone with her. That only worsened the storm in my head. I drove like a maniac to the party. And when I got there, my worst fears stared me in the face. Larry was laughing more than he had in weeks, and Brittany was right next to him. Rage consumed me. I stormed over and called his name, my voice sharp, slicing through the music. He turned confused. I was trembling with emotion, jealousy, rage, shame. I told him to get up and come home. He refused. That shattered me. I threatened him right there in front of his friends, saying if he didn't come with me now, he could pack his things and never return. He laughed, a dark, unsettling sound. Then with eyes cold and calm, he said, "I've tolerated you for the last time." That was the moment everything changed. After the party, he told me to leave him alone. He said it was over. I laughed, thinking it was just anger talking. I even packed his things for him, expecting some dramatic reunion, a plea, a fight for us. But when he came home, he took the bags and walked out without hesitation. I screamed after him that if he walked out, he better not come back. He turned and replied, "Why would I come back to hell?" I stood there stunned. Days passed. I waited. Nothing. A week then, too. Still nothing. Desperate, I tracked him down and tried to talk to him. He didn't even let me finish a sentence. His eyes burned with anger. He said he never wanted to see me again. This was the same man who once told me he couldn't imagine life without me. Now he won't even acknowledge my existence. Even our mutual friends stay out of it. They know how angry he is. My own family has given up trying to fix things. Now there's nothing left. Just silence, regret, and the heavy weight of knowing I destroyed the one thing I thought was unbreakable.